Let's bring in Willie Ng, who's former SAPD, United States Secret Service, worked for the Bexar County DA's office as an investigator, has his own security company, Blue Armor Security. He's on our KTSA Quarter Moon Plumbing, AC, Heating, Newsmaker line. Willie, thanks for coming on, and good morning. And I feel like you're the kind of person that has probably already been studying the video on this ever since it happened, right?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jack. Yeah, I've been watching it over and over and analyzing this, and I agree with a lot of the comments that were made on that audio you just played.
What stood out for you as you looked at the different angles and people in different positions?
Well, the intent, of course, and you and I have these conversations all the time, right? We don't want to jump to conclusions. It's early on in the investigation, but there's allegations going on that she had been following the federal law enforcement officers throughout the day and kind of doing the same thing. But you can see the intent. There are two federal units with lights on, and she cuts in front of both of them. And that's why you have one of the agents coming from the front side, because his vehicle is on one side of her vehicle and there's agents on the other side. So I think you have intent.
If you're one of these ICE men or women, what's it feel like to be there? I'm talking about prior to this incident. What's the atmosphere? You know that all the political leaders are egging on the public and demonizing you. So what is your mindset, or how does it feel to be them?
Well, you can tell, Jack, with the amount of agents, the force that was there, that location in Minneapolis, and we've known, right, there's other incidents that have occurred where they don't support law enforcement. They knew that they're going to be in a hostile environment and a hostile community. That's why you see so many of them there, and they're geared up and they're prepared for that type of an environment. But let me tell you, Jack, watching this video, it really struck me, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm speaking from wisdom, not from a book and not from watching video. In 1998, very similar situation I was in, where I was receiving information where there was people with guns and drugs and they had warrants. And so I notified the dispatcher that I was going to be out investigating this, and I had another officer in the area. He pulled up, and the vehicle did very much what this one did. It backed up, it rammed one of the patrol units, and it came towards me. I had to discharge my firearm multiple times. It then led to a car chase. It ended fortunate that two suspects were struck by my gunfire, but they survived. But, I mean, you have a split second to respond off your training and instinct, and I really thought that I was going to die. I really thought that this car was going to run me over, and I had no other option or no other choice but to protect myself.
Given that it is that atmosphere, and as you were describing that, I was also thinking it's almost a little bit like when we send National Guardsmen into the LA riots or something like that, where there's everywhere they look, 360 degrees, there's a potential threat, and there's no ally. There's no one, there's no friendly faces. When you're in that situation, does that change the way you react to somebody like this driver who maybe is an agitator or an activist, but thinks it's just going to be a YouTube moment, not a, deadly encounter?
Well, for the law enforcement, we're trained, right? Nothing is routine. So I think that the agents there were expecting the worst, right? You always prepare for the worst, and you never say, oh, this is just another routine assignment. So I think for the law enforcement officers, yes, they were expecting the worst, and unfortunately that's what occurred. You can see her rear tires when she accelerates; they start to spin. She was going right towards that officer in front of her, I know what I felt at the time when I discharged my firearm multiple times. You have no other choice. You have no other option.
I mean, the bullet hole in the windshield seems to pretty conclusively support the idea that at least one of them is in the path of her vehicle.
Absolutely. And you can see it. There's different angles that are coming out now. You can see the officer who discharges his firearm, is as I mentioned earlier, is coming from the vehicle, the federal vehicle, that was cut off that was already past her before she cut off the second one. So he's coming from that front side to try to help the situation and control the situation.
Things like this don't happen in a vacuum. What part of this do you assign to or think was caused by in other words, was she kind of a foot soldier for the rhetoric and the revolutionary rhetoric that's coming out of these politicians?
I believe so. I mean, they talk about that, right? That how when the president says certain things, go down there peacefully and, let your voices be heard at the Capitol, and they spin that. And that's what they tend to do, right? They tend to spin what's being said to fit their agenda. So I believe so. But, the thing is this, and we've talked about this so many times on your show, is people will focus so much on the outcome, right? They look at that snapshot and they focus so much on the outcome instead of looking at, well, what was the cause of that outcome? Let's go back. Had she not interfered, because that's what she was doing, she was interfering with the federal agents, none of this would happen. She would be alive today. Yeah. So we have to. Well,
I was saying earlier, with all the police involved shooting videos. Remember, we had that whole spate of body cam videos over the years. It all came down to when you started the video, and you could always pick a starting point in any one of those videos where it would look like the police officer just randomly and unprovokedly killed the person. But if you go back and you watch the lead up and the de-escalation and everything that leads up to it, it's a different story. Absolutely.
And people need to remember that and not have that knee-jerk reaction and make a decision or an assumption off of a few seconds of the video and start to really think, well, why were the law enforcement there to begin with? We got to circle all the way back, right? Why were they there to begin with? Well, they're there to arrest people who came into the country illegally.
These are crazy times. Willie Ng, Blue Armor Security is his company. Always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you for being available to us today, Willie. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack.
He joins us on the KTSA Quarter Moon Plumbing, AC, Heating Newsmaker line. More Jack in 60 on KTSA.